She was ready to fight over a toy nobody else wanted. A cream beige Labrador puppy, 3 months old, stood in the heat like a barricade made of bone and fear. Late spring in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The asphalt shimmered. Cars rolled past. Nobody slowed down for one small dog and one ruined plush rabbit. The Labrador puppy didn't run when I stopped. She lowered herself over the rabbit, shoulders tense, belly close to the pavement. Her pink spotted nose wrinkled. A growl came out of her like it cost the last bit of courage she had. Then she barked, sharp, right at my knees, and snapped at the empty air. She wasn't guarding food. She wasn't guarding a human. This little Labrador was guarding a dirty gray rabbit with one ear flattened and stuffing peeking through the seams. Her paws were planted across its chest, like she was holding down a living thing. Every time I shifted my weight, she pressed harder. I've pulled a lot of abandoned puppies off the streets, but this felt different. My name is Nolan. I've learned to read the way a dog breathes before I trust the way a dog looks. Her sides moved fast under a too-thin coat. Hunger, fear, no trust left for people. I turned my body sideways, kept my eyes soft, let my hands hang empty. I slid a small bowl across the asphalt, filled it with water from my bottle a little farther from her than she wanted, but close enough to smell. No talking, no baby voice, just water and time. She stared at it for a long moment. One paw loosened on the rabbit. She took a step toward the bowl, claws scraping the road. Another step, nose shaking with short, nervous breaths. Then, in one heartbeat, she jerked back, spun around, and dropped her chest over the plush rabbit again, pinning it with both front paws like I'd tried to reach inside it. She ate like every bite might disappear if she looked away. I kept my body angled, my hands low, placing kibble in a slow curve on the asphalt so the little Labrador puppy didn't feel trapped. Her cream beige fur trembled when she moved. She darted forward, grabbed a piece, and sprinted back to the rabbit as if someone behind her might steal it. Every time her teeth touched food, her eyes snapped to the toy. Her whole body folded protectively over it, that pink-spotted nose pressed into the fur as if checking the rabbit was still there. I tried again, water closer this time, food on my palm, sideways posture. Nothing rushed, no reaching. Just patience. She crept half a step toward me, but the moment the plush rabbit shifted under her paw, she growled and crawled back, shielding it with her ribs. It wasn't aggression, it was grief shaped like possession. You, watching this, would have seen the same thing. Not a bad puppy, but a terrified one, guarding the only thing she still believed was hers. She finished eating only when the rabbit was touching her chest. If the wind moved the toy, her whole body tensed. If a car door slammed in the distance, she nudged the rabbit closer with her chin, like she feared it could vanish the same way she had. By late evening, the street cooled, shadows stretching long across Tulsa's sidewalks. She finally let her back legs fold under her. The rabbit sat between her paws. Her breathing slowed, but her eyes stayed on me, waiting to see if I'd try to take what mattered. I didn't. I just opened my car door, leaving it wide and quiet. I didn't call her. I didn't lure her. I let the Labrador puppy decide. She sniffed the air, then the door, then the step up. Her rabbit never left her mouth. She climbed into my car without looking at me once, curled around the toy, and let the door close us both into the soft dark of the drive home. The little Labrador puppy stepped out of the car with the rabbit still hanging from her mouth, its gray fur brushing her chin as she paused on the driveway. Tulsa's late spring air was cooling, and she watched every shadow as if something in them could still take what she had left. I kept the porch light warm and low, held the door open, and waited. She didn't rush. Her paws made small, careful taps on the wood floor, each step measured, her pink-spotted nose sweeping the air. My living room wasn't big, just a couch, a rug, a basket of old dog blankets, but for a 3-month-old Labrador who had only asphalt and noise for days, it was another world. She scanned the room the way abandoned puppies do, eyes first, then nose, then the tiny tremble in her legs giving her away. She made a slow circle, then another. Only after that did she set her rabbit down, gently, right beside her front paw, like placing a flag to claim a piece of ground that finally felt safe enough to touch. I put a bowl of water a few feet away. She watched me place it, then watched me back away, still unsure of my role in her new space. She patted over, drank fast, then returned to the rabbit and curled her body around it. Not sleeping, just protecting. always protecting. You would have seen it instantly. This wasn't a dog checking out a new home. This was a little Labrador pup making sure she wasn't losing another one. I spread a soft blanket near her. She tensed. I froze. Then, slowly, she stretched her neck forward, nudged the blanket with her nose, and pulled a corner toward her rabbit. Her first tiny claim of comfort. Every morning started the same, like she was testing whether the rules had changed overnight. Water first, a small bowl of food, a short loop around the block in Tulsa's soft morning heat. And always, the gray rabbit held tight between her teeth, swinging gently with each step of the little Labrador puppy who refused to let the world take one more thing from her. On day one, when I tried a simple exchange, a biscuit for a second of letting me touch the rabbit, her whole body stiffened. My fingertips barely brushed the toy before she snapped her head away and clamped down harder, eyes sharp with the question, "Are you here to steal it?" I backed off. I had to. Trust with an abandoned Labrador pup is built in breaths, not leaps. On day two, she allowed a different kind of moment. I knelt sideways, spoke low, and let her see every part of what I was doing. My hand touched the rabbit's ear for a single heartbeat. I didn't lift it. I didn't test her. I just touched and gave it back instantly. She studied me like a creature trying to understand the rules of a new species. 1 second of permission, 1 second of hope. By day three, we had a rhythm: voice, pause, exchange, retreat. Her cream beige fur brushed my leg once by accident, and she startled as if she'd done something forbidden. But then something shifted. She set the rabbit down on the floor, not away from her, not abandoned, but between us. A small, trembling offering, a question of her own. If I let go, will you? I reached slowly, the way you'd reach toward a baby bird. The rabbit felt heavier than it looked. Grime and old threads hid years of someone else's handling. I thought about washing it, getting the smell of asphalt off, giving her something clean to sleep beside. So I curled my fingers around its side, meaning only to lift it for a moment. That's when I felt it, a hard lump under the matted fabric, not stuffing, not a squeaker, something solid, packed deep under a crooked seam. I froze, still holding the rabbit, as the little Labrador puppy stared up at me with wide, unblinking eyes, as if she knew exactly what I just found. I sat on the floor with her watching every move I made, that little Labrador puppy breathing fast, her pink spotted nose trembling over the rabbit I held in my hands. The crooked seam was tight, stitched by someone who hadn't known how to sew but had tried anyway. I slid my thumb under the edge and eased it open. Inside wasn't stuffing. It was a pocket, a real pocket. I reached in carefully, feeling shapes that didn't belong in a toy, flat edges, wood, paper softened by time. I pulled everything out slowly, laying each piece on the floor between us so she could see it wasn't disappearing. A photo, 2 small wooden tokens, a marker with the cap chewed, child handwriting scrawled right across the wood. The photo hit hardest. 2 Labrador puppies pressed against each other on a frayed blanket. One of them was unmistakably her, same cream beige coat, same soft pink spot on her nose. Her breath caught when she saw it. She stepped closer, and nose touching the image like she was remembering a scent that wasn't there anymore. I picked up 1 wooden token. Junie, I read softly. Her ears lifted. Her chest rose in a sharp inhale. A quiet, aching whine slipped out of her like that word had been living under her ribs the whole time. The second token, another name in the same shaky handwriting. Rowan. She froze. Not scared, searching. Her head turned left, then right, then toward the doorway, as if someone was supposed to walk in behind me. Her tail didn't move, her body didn't move. Only her eyes kept scanning, hoping the name belonged to someone still close enough to reach. That was the moment I understood. The rabbit wasn't comfort. It was a container. A memory she refused to lose because that name, Rowan, was a weight tied to someone she wasn't done looking for. My fingers shook as I lifted the photo again. Instinct made me flip it over. On the back, in rushed, uneven marker strokes, someone had written a single line, and the words stopped my breath in my throat. The back of the photo was almost blank, just the soft bleed of old marker, and 1 rushed line written in a child's uneven hand. They didn't get to sell them. The words bent sideways, crowded into a corner like someone wrote them fast, maybe scared, maybe hiding. My stomach tightened. I'd seen a lot on the streets of Tulsa, but this was different. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a puppy wandering off. This was two Labrador puppies someone tried to get rid of before a child, stuffed names and a picture into a toy rabbit so the world wouldn't erase them. I looked at Junie. She wasn't looking at me. She was staring at the rabbit on the floor like it was breathing, like it was the last thread tying her to someone she couldn't reach anymore. Her pink spotted nose twitched once, then again, slow and fragile, as if she was waiting for me to decide whether her story was worth keeping. I had planned to wash the rabbit that morning. It was filthy, stiff with dirt, and the smell of asphalt clung to it. A new life should have started clean. But right then, holding the photo, feeling the weight of those wooden tokens, I understood exactly what this toy was. It wasn't trash. It wasn't a comfort object. It was a capsule. A message. A memory sealed shut by small hands trying to save something they loved. If I washed it, I'd erase the last piece of her brother she still recognized. If I washed it, I'd erase the only thing that had survived with her. I picked the rabbit up gently and set it back in front of her. Junie nosed it once, then pushed her body against it, curling protectively the way she had on the street. This time, she didn't growl. This time, she just breathed, long and shaky, as if something inside her had loosened. I whispered, "I won't take it from you. Not ever." She rested her chin on the rabbit, eyes half closed but alert, guarding the pieces of her past without fighting me for them anymore. And that's when the question really hit, a question that pressed into the room like a cold draft. If there were two names, two puppies, two lives saved in that rabbit, where was Rowan? And why had Junie come home alone? For the first 2 weeks, our world stayed small on purpose. Same block, same time of day, same gentle loop around my street in Tulsa's warm late spring mornings. No surprises, no crowds, no sudden hands reaching for a little Labrador puppy who still carried her whole past in her mouth. Junie walked close to me, the gray rabbit swinging lightly from her teeth. Sometimes she held it tight, sometimes she let it dangle, but she never left it behind. Even in the yard, even by the water bowl, the rabbit stayed pressed to her chest or between her paws like a heartbeat she couldn't lose. Her eating changed slowly. At first, she gulped everything, swallowing fast like scarcity lived inside her. Then, day by day, her movements softened. She chewed. She paused between bites. She lifted her head to check the space around her, then lowered it calmly again. A rescued puppy learning she didn't have to fight the air anymore. Sometimes, during those quiet walks, I said his name, the second one, Rowan. It was like flipping a switch inside her. Junie froze mid-step, ears tightening toward the sound. Her eyes would travel across empty driveways and quiet lawns, searching corners where nothing moved. Then that soft, broken whine would slip out, a sound that didn't belong to this neighborhood at all, a sound shaped by memory, not fear. You'd have felt it too. She wasn't lost. She was missing someone. And every time it happened, something inside me tightened. Because if a Labrador puppy can remember with that kind of ache, then forgetting wasn't going to heal her. Connection would. By day 14, I knew the little world we'd built was no longer enough. If she stayed locked in this small routine, her fear would harden, not fade. She needed noise, movement, new scents, a whole map of smells to replace the empty spaces she kept searching. She needed the world again. And maybe, somewhere inside it, an answer she couldn't find here. But the truth sat heavy in my chest. A real socialization, people, dogs, bikes, children, could break everything we'd built these 2 weeks. What if the moment we stepped into that chaos, Junie slipped back into the trembling pup who snapped at the air to protect one fragile thing she didn't know how to live without? The first step into the park felt like stepping onto thin ice. Her rabbit hung from her mouth, but her grip wasn't desperate now. It was steady, like a reminder she carried with her. Tulsa's late spring air was thick with smells, cut grass, sunscreen, hot metal from the playground rails. Junie lifted her head into all of it, but something in her posture changed. Her breath shortened, quick, sharp sniffs instead of long, curious inhales. Not fear, not stress, purpose. Like a Labrador scenting something familiar in a place she'd never been, she took 3 fast steps forward. Stopped, looked left, sniffed again, short and clipped. Then she moved, but not like a wandering puppy, like a dog following the memory of a scent that shouldn't exist here. I kept the leash loose. If you'd been watching us, you'd have seen the shift too. her tail low but steady, her shoulders tightening each time the wind changed direction. She wasn't overwhelmed. She was searching. Then she pulled, gentle at first, then with a sudden urgency that surprised me. Easy, I whispered, but she was already choosing a direction, her paws sure on the paved path. Then she slowed. Her steps softened, her breathing evened out, and she walked straight toward a single wooden bench under a cottonwood tree. Not hesitating, not checking back at me, just going. She stopped right in front of it, lowered her nose to the ground near one of the front legs, sniffed long, deeper than before. Then she sat, rabbit pressed to her chest, staring at that bench like it belonged to a chapter of her life I hadn't read yet. I tried to lead her away gently. A soft tug on the leash, a quiet, "Come on, Junie," nothing forceful. She stood, but her paws stayed planted toward the bench. No pulling, no panic, no whining, just a quiet, stubborn meaning in her body, as if leaving that spot felt wrong. When she finally moved, it wasn't because she wanted to. It was because she accepted that I did. But halfway down the path, she kept glancing back, each look a question I didn't know how to answer. The next morning, she didn't wander or explore. She walked straight toward the cottonwood bench like a compass finding north. Her paws quickened the closer we got. She sat in the same place, pressed her rabbit to her chest, and stared down the path as if waiting for someone running late. By the third day, I stopped pretending it was coincidence. I started taking her at the same hour, late morning, when the sun tilted just right across the grass, when Tulsa slowed into that quiet between errands and lunch. If this was a ritual, I needed to understand it. If it was hope, I needed to see what she was hoping for. Each time we arrived, she checked the ground, the air, the legs of the bench, searching for something she couldn't name. Today, when we rounded the curve toward the cottonwood, her body changed before she saw anything. Ears forward, tail still, steps faster. I followed her gaze. A woman sat on the bench, maybe 65, silver hair tucked behind her ears, posture soft the way older people sit when they've made peace with routine. And lying beside her feet, dozing in the patch of shade under the bench, was a young cream-colored Labrador puppy. Junie stopped. Her breath hitched. The rabbit slipped slightly in her mouth. And for the first time since I'd found her, she didn't look lost. She looked like she'd just found a doorway back into a story that wasn't finished. Junie exploded forward before I felt the leash tighten. The little Labrador puppy launched herself toward the bench, rabbit swinging from her mouth like it weighed nothing. She wasn't charging the woman. She was locked on the cream-colored Labrador pup under the cottonwood, nose pointed straight at him. "Easy," I said, planting my feet, shocked by the strength in a 3-month-old puppy who'd spent weeks afraid of everything. She hit the end of the leash and didn't fold. Her whole body leaned into it, claws scraping the path, tail low but trembling with something that wasn't fear. For a second, instinct took over. Pull her back, protect the older woman, keep everything controlled. But my chest tightened with the same urgency. What if this wasn't random? What if a little Labrador followed a thread I couldn't see? Doreen turned at the sound of gravel under our shoes, one hand resting near the dog at her feet. The cream pup lifted his head, blinking at us from the shade. I made a choice. I let the leash slide through my fingers. I took a breath and did the one thing that could turn this into either a miracle or a mistake. "Rowan," I called, my voice cutting across the park. The cream-colored Labrador puppy's head snapped up, his eyes locked on us, on Junie, on the rabbit, on that name hanging in the hot Tulsa air. Doreen's mouth opened. Junie whined, high and thin, pressing herself against the front leg of the bench where she had waited day after day. And the cream Labrador pup, a dog who should have had no reason to know us at all, pushed himself to his feet and began to walk, steady, deliberate, toward the patch of ground where my little girl waited. Junie and the cream-colored Labrador puppy met in the shade under the bench, the rabbit still hanging from her mouth. They touched noses, froze for a heartbeat, then each took a tiny step back. Junie leaned in first, one slow sniff along his muzzle and ears. He answered the same way, tracing her pink-spotted nose. Then something between them clicked. Her tail moved once, his body loosened. Their noses bumped again, and both Labrador puppies went still. Junie let out a thin, rising whine that broke into a tiny bark, the sound of a puppy finally finding what she'd been searching for. For the first time, she lowered the rabbit to the ground between them. not gripped like a shield, placed. She nudged it toward him with her nose, and he touched it gently, tongue flicking at one worn ear like he had done it before. Beside us, the woman's voice stayed low. "I've been calling him other names," she said softly. None of them ever stuck. She watched the two young dogs breathe each other in, circling the rabbit like it belonged to both. "A month ago, he ran up to me in the parking lot after the store," she went on. "He was skinny, shaking, no collar. I took him home because I couldn't leave a Labrador puppy like that on the asphalt. I told her about the pocket in the toy, the photo, the two wooden tokens with their names written in marker. Junie. Rowan. I can't give him up," she said at last. "He's my dog now, but I can't take on another dog either." We stood in that park watching two Labrador pups lean into each other with the rabbit between them, and the truth settled hard in my chest. Whatever tore them apart had pulled both of them back to this bench, and now that they had found each other, the question of who did it refused to stay quiet anymore. We made a quiet promise at that bench under the cottonwood tree. No papers, no big words. Doreen would bring Rowan most late mornings. I would bring Junie. At first, the meetings were still and small, two cream-colored Labrador puppies lying side by side, the rabbit always between them. Some days Rowan rested his chin on it. Some days Junie did. Neither tried to drag it away. It wasn't a prize anymore. It was a bridge. By the third visit, you could feel something knitting inside them. Junie moved through the park like a growing puppy again, not just an abandoned puppy glued to one object. Rowan bounced alongside her, then flopped under the bench when Doreen's knees needed a break. One morning he tapped the rabbit with his paw, then stepped back. Junie waited, eyes bright, until he nudged it toward her. Next time she did the same for him. They played in turns, gentle and patient, like they were remembering an old rule. Now it's yours. Now it's mine. I still haven't washed that rabbit. People ask why I let a rescued puppy keep something so filthy. I tell them it isn't a toy. It's a map. Somewhere, a child stitched names and a photo into that rabbit because the adults nearby were about to do something unforgivable. Someone wrote, "They didn't get to sell them," and hid proof inside so two Labrador pups wouldn't just vanish. We may never know who split Junie and Rowan, or why two young dogs were worth money one day and worth nothing the next. We may never know which small hands turned a plush rabbit into a message in a bottle. That part of the story belongs to you now. Tell me what you think happened in those missing weeks. Tell me who wrote those words and why two stray pups found their way back to the same bench in the same park. When we stop long enough to notice one small dog on hot asphalt, whole worlds unfold. Dog stories, puppy rescue, dog lovers, abandoned puppy, rescue dogs. None of it is abstract when a four-legged friend is guarding a toy like her whole heart is sewn inside. Share Junie and Rowan's story so more people look twice at the lost Labradors in their own streets and parks. Together, we turn rescue into hope.